receive them, in written format, is any changes needed to be made? If not, do I hear a motion that we accept them as you receive them?
So moved.
Your second? Motion second, any discussion? Many in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state your objection. Thank you so very much. Again, we are, maintaining our, prior arrangements by having two commissioners here, which gives us a forum. I thank Mr. Kuykendall for taking my place, at our last meeting, and he and Mr. Wooden are absent today, because of the arrangements we've made, under the emergency order. The first item of business, this morning, is to recognize, the, 100 Eagle Scout Award, and Mr. Don Brown, who's here with us today, is responsible for that. And, Mr. Brown, if you would please come to the microphone, and we want to congratulate you, and more than that, tell you how much we appreciate your dedication and your perseverance with the folks that you've dealt with, the young men that you've helped, and I assure you that it goes far beyond just those 100 Eagle Scouts. And I personally want to thank you for all of the years that I've dealt with you, and you've always been so kind and so cooperative to help us in county projects. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate it. Commissioner Westbrook has some things to say in the award for you, but Mr. Westbrook, we'll give you lead at this time.
Thank you. I'll probably get a little emotional with this. Don is a good friend of mine, has been for quite some time. Known him all my life. He's been the Boy Scout Master at Tenbrook, which is a small community I lived in, all my life, since 1973, I believe. A lot of my friends over the years coming up through school, we were all members of the Boy Scouts at Tenbrook. I was a little bit more of a slacker than some of the rest of them. I didn't hardly make my Eagle Scout. We got pretty close, but that is a long and distinguished list. I was looking through a list of them last night of all the Eagle Scouts that's come through Tenbrook. So with that being said, Don, we're about to present you with a resolution for your accomplishment. So I'm just going to read this out. It says, Tenbrook Chapter of the Boy Scouts of America, Herbie Don Brown, recognition for 100th Eagle Scout. Whereas Herbie Don Brown has demonstrated strong leadership abilities for 47 years as Scoutmaster of the Tenbrook Chapter of the Boy Scouts of America, and whereas Mr. Brown has exhibited a strong sense of duty, honor, and patriotism, making him a clear example of the best qualities of leadership in the Boy Scouts of America, and whereas under the leadership and guidance of Mr. Brown, Mr. Bruce Wilson was the first scout in the Tenbrook chapter to persevere the arduous and demanding requirements of obtaining the rank of Eagle Scout in March of 1979. And Levi Doty, the 100th Eagle Scout recipient under the direction of Mr. Herbie Don Brown in August of 2020. And be it resolved, the DeKalb County Commission does recognize and congratulate Mr. Herbie Don Brown for his 47 years of service to the Boy Scouts of America. This done by unanimous consent and without objection by the DeKalb County Commission and ordered signed by its president. We've all signed it.
Don, we give you opportunity to say anything you'd like to.
I think it's thing like that, too emotional. No, Debbie, that was me. But it's changed. 1973 to 2020 for the worse. I'll be seeing on the news all the stuff that's going on about the lawsuits. They're just nitpicking and trying to find stuff to try to bring us down. But all of my boys, some of them's backslid, 4 of them's done passed on, gone to be with the Lord. Rest of them still here, like I said, some's not done right. That's the way it is in church, you know, sometimes you have to have conference and you kick them out for drinking and beating their wife or running around on their wife or something, but that's just part of it. But the biggest part of them, I don't mean to be emotional on myself, but they've done good. A lot of them goes in the military, and when they come back to see me or write or anything, they talk about how the sergeants brags on them because they know how to tie the knots. They said they wouldn't have thought knots would be important, because I make them tie knots every Monday night, and they get tired of it, and get mad, so we're gonna tie you up, so we'll tie me up. But, I thank the Lord that He's let me live this long and see all this, and hope I get to see 100 more, if it's His will. And thank y'all for this award very much, and pray for the Boy Scouts of America too.
Thank you, thank you. Brown's one of the finest people I know, and he's really done a good job over the years. For many, many years that I've been acquainted with him, I've seen a change in a lot of things, but not a change in him. So we appreciate you, Mr. Brown, for all that you've done. Thank you so much. The next item is the road department update. Mr. Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just have a real short update for you. We have all the crews are trying to mow. As you know, we did not do our herbicide spraying this year. We had so much damage from floods and things like that, workload was to the point that we just did not, and did not have the weather either to do it. I hoped we might do a late summer spraying, but the guy that oversees the herbicide program and actually does the spraying, as you know, he was injured in a wreck a few weeks back, and he's not going to be back at work for some time to come, so we're not going to be able to spray it all this year. That's caused our crews to have to do a lot more mowing, bush hogging than what they normally have been doing in the past several years, but they're all continuing on with that. We have a couple of roads remaining on our paving program we had this year. They're up in District 1. The crews are actually working on those roads today. We're going to try to get those ready, and hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll get our contractor in and get these finished up. We're farther along with this than we've ever been in the past, and the reason is because of the way we've changed. We're submitting a list, an approved list to a contractor early. He's able to bid it and stockpile, and it's really paid off because he's had all of our work except these two roads done now for about a month, so it's worked out great. Hope we continue to do that. And we actually have got started the rebuild process on County Road 835. We actually started that a week ago yesterday. We're working on the upper slide. As you know, we had two faults on that roadway. We're working on the upper slide right now. I don't think we'll get it finished up this week, but we'll probably, unless we have some kind of equipment breakage or something, or hindered by weather, we should get close to getting it maybe repaired this week, at least hopefully by the middle of next week. And then we'll start on the large fault that we have. It's gonna take some time. I don't know, like I said, I'm not gonna try to fix a date to it because until we start excavating material on this lower spot, we're not really gonna know exactly what we're looking at on it. And I'm sure hoping that we can find this road's had a problem right there all of my life. Ricky and I talked a little bit this morning. He said all of his life, he quite a bit over than I am. Said it has been a problem all of his life also. So I'm hoping we can resolve this issue, and when we fix it, I hope it won't have to be addressed again. That's about all I have for you in the way of an update. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those for you.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Some questions? We thank you for all that you've done and all you're doing. We know that you have plenty to do, and we appreciate it.
Have some personnel items. As you know, we posted a position last week. We have an opening in the District 2 crew. I'd like to hire Mr. Tim Frost to fill that position or fill a vacancy. What I'm going to do, I'm going to transfer a guy from the crew that meets here at Fort Payne out to the District 2 crew, and I'm going to bring Mr. Frost in, and he will work in the yard crew. I'd like to recommend him for that position.
You just have one?
I got two. I've got hired to work, as I said, we have a driver that was injured in a wreck a few weeks ago, and it's gonna be some time before he's back. I'd like to hire Andrew Bowen, to work part-time, to kind of fill his position until, he's able to come back to work.
Thank you. Any questions, concern about the recommendation? If not, do I hear a motion to honor the request?
Motion to honor.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Any in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Anyone opposed, take your objection. Thank you.
Thank you, that's all I have for you.
All right, thank you, sir. Engineering, transportation, plans, Blue.
Thank you. Each of you have a copy of our fiscal year 2021 county transportation plan. As we had to do last year, the Rebuild Alabama Act requires the commission to adopt the plan before August 30th. And since this is our only scheduled meeting for the month, we will be presenting that today. This is very similar to our plan from last year. We have approximately $1.28 million in estimated work, and we have obligated all of our rebuild funding in this plan. There will not be any exchange funds this year due to what my next item will be. I'll kind of give a little explanation of that as to getting some of our federal aid back, and due to the circumstances of the law, we will not be getting any exchange funds for this next fiscal year. I can explain that a little bit later. But this is the plan that we have here based on the roads that the commissioners have provided. And if there's any questions on that, I'll try to answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Blue. Gentlemen, you all have saw this, and the other commissioners have gone over this prior to this meeting. And as you said, we have to do that before August 31st. So is there any questions about it? Anything that we need to, that you all need to know? Any clarification? If not, hear a motion that we adopt the plan.
Make a motion.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, in discussion. Many in favor, let it know by saying aye. Anyone opposed, say your objection. Thank you, motion carried. Go ahead with the next item.
And as we have done also, couple of times, the last few months, the ALDOT has been, redispersing some leftover A-trip funds. We've been fortunate enough to receive some of that in the past, and, they actually have some more that they are providing to us to one of our previously completed projects. This one is on, Kendall 155 project. In the beginning, we received about $701,610 of A-trip funds for that project specifically, and the state is now providing us with $821,295 in A-trip funds to go towards that. So, in giving us additional A-trip funds, they are returning some of our federal aid funds that we had to use as matching money. We didn't have enough A-trip at the time. We had to dip into our federal aid to make up the difference. And so we will be getting back about $193,000 in federal aid, on top of the additional funds that we've already received back because of this same thing on two other projects. So what they are requesting, as we have done previously, is to execute a revised funding agreement for that lays out the new funding. So I would ask the commission to give Mr. Hargrove and Mr. Sharp authority to sign this agreement to get these funds back.
Any questions about that? Of course, this is money that's coming back to us that we've already used, and they're repaying back. So, any questions about that? If not, hear your motion that you allow me and Mr. Sharp to execute this agreement.
Make a motion.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, in discussion. Any in favor, let it know by saying aye. Anyone opposed, say rejected. Thank you, motion carried.
Just a quick explanation as to the exchange, just so that everybody understands. In the law, it was written that, once our federal aid balance gets below 300,000, we can exchange it with the state. They'll send us the money, then we can use it. With getting all this money back, our account's now gonna be over $1 million. And so we will have to initiate some regular federal aid projects to spend the money down. This $400,000 that we get start of each fiscal year in place of our old federal aid, they will take that and use that as our matching fund funds towards the federal funds that we have, so we should not have to send in county money like we have in the past. So once we get these projects initiated, done, we spend that money down. Once we get below 300,000, then we can exchange it again for what's left, and then the next fiscal year, we'll get back into that 400,000 where they send it to us. Hopefully we'll be out of the federal aid business this time next year.
Thank you, we appreciate it. Wheels turn slow on some of that sometimes, so we appreciate you working on that part. Next item, Sheriff's Office personnel. Well,
Good morning.
good morning.
When we was at the last commission meeting, we spoke about the grant we received for the hire. And all we have today is we have one of those requirements for military, had to be a prior or previous military to fill that position. And we have, our PIO Tyler Pruitt, who's requested one of those positions to be in as a full-time road deputy position. And we request that we transfer PIO Pruitt to that full-time road spot provided on the grant.
Thank you, sir. Any questions concerning that? If not, we'll hear a motion that we honor his request.
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Minutes favor, let it know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Revenue office personnel, Ms. Sharp.
Mr. Wilkes has asked us to hire Brooke Venable. She'll be replacing Courtney County in the tag office.
Okay. Any questions concerning the recommendation from Mr. Wilks? If not, do your motion, the honor's request.
Make a motion.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Minutes favor, let it know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Is that the only one you have for revenue office?
It is.
Go ahead with the COA contract.
The Council on Aging has two agreements that they need to be executed. One is the regular aging program, that is about $129,000 federal funds. We'll have to put some county funds in there. There's some municipal funds that go into that program for senior centers. And then also there's the SHIP program, which aids with our seniors in prescription drugs. So those two agreements, the SHIP is $5,000, that helps in that program.
Thank you, Mr. Sharp. Any questions concerning those contracts? If not, then, I'd ask for a motion that you give me, Mr. Sharp, authority to execute these contracts with council on aging. Any questions? Go ahead.
Motion to execute. Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Minutes favor, let it know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Sharp. EMA, Mr. Posey? Or Mr. Clifton?
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
What reason we're here today is to make a presentation of our automatic external defibrillator. We received, under the guidance of Mr. Posey's excellent grant writing skills, we have received funding to purchase AEDs for the sheriff's office to go in deputy cars. We believe that this will go a long way toward saving lives in the county, because a lot of times they're the first responders on the scene. They are CPR trained, and the thing is, we just need to give them the equipment. So Mr. Posey wrote a grant, Homeland Security, and we have received those funds, and we purchased the AEDs, and we wanted to let the commission know that has occurred, and make a presentation to the sheriff. And so when the meeting's over, if you don't care, we'd like to get a picture with you and the sheriff and the AEDs, but I want you to know that again, this was, Mr. Posey's done excellent with our grant writing, and we really appreciate his efforts, and he continues to bring in a lot of money to the county. And so that's our presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Clifton. We'll do that as soon as the meeting is over. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you for getting us that update. I know that'll be a great asset to our law enforcement agencies. We appreciate it. Go ahead.
I wanted to make a brief comment about the AEDs. As a firefighter, small grant really was and what it equates to. According to the American Heart Association, people who have a heart attack outside of the hospital, which would be me and you at home or on the road, we have a 7% survival rate. 7% chance of surviving a heart attack if you're not in the hospital. When CPR is administered early, it will give you approximately a 20 to 40% chance of survivability. When an AED is available and is used early in a heart attack or cardiac arrest, it can improve the odds of survivability up to 75%. And so this small grant that Mr. Posey and EMA have been able to obtain for the Sheriff's Office and with the Sheriff's Office is very likely to save lives and is going to improve the likelihood of those that are find themselves in need of it by about 75%. So appreciate your efforts in that, and Mr. Weldon, you and the Sheriff's Office as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Westbrook. Your expertise in that area is very valuable, and we appreciate that so very much. And again, we appreciate the Sheriff's Office, Mr. Posey, the EMA, working so diligently in that area. Any other comment?
Judge, what was the number of those purchased?
We received almost $40,000, and they're approximately $1,000 a piece, so we bought 40 total. That won't be enough, I don't believe, for every car, but I think we'll have, it'll go a long way.
Thank you, Mr. Black. We move on to the last item on our agenda, which is the Tourism and Economic Development Center. The building where our Economic Development and Tourist Association is housed out on Highway 35, of course, flooded during the floods, done that several times, and we've been notified by the Appalachian Regional Commission, the ARC, and the folks at ADEPA, through Mr. Kenneth Boswell, who's the director, that we can dispose of that property and relocate somewhere else, and we need to do that. It's just a constant. Ever since we've had it, it's been something that has been somewhat of an albatross around our neck. It was a nice building, but it would flood, and we worked on it and replaced so much in so many ways. I wouldn't have time to tell you about it all today. But we have been cleared to declare that surplus property and dispose of it. Mr. Sharp, you want to come and explain it in a little more depth, but we are in that process, and Mr. Sharp, and if our council needs to say anything about that, why we'd be very happy for him to speak. Go ahead.
What we need to do is, one, declare the property surplus, and then give the commission president, myself, authority to enter into an agreement to sell such property. It would need to sell for at least as much as the appraised value. That's my understanding of how we need to do that. But, that's kind of my understanding of kind of how the process would work. Most likely, we would want to sell that for a good purpose. We want something that's going to come into that property that would raise it up out of the floodplain. Right now, I mean, we had 3 foot of water in it back during the Easter flood. So the folks that we have been in contact with about it have said that they would probably tear the building down and would most likely raise the level of that property to make it useful to somebody who would want to use it for a commercial purpose. And I think that'd be a good purpose for it. But as far as selling it, I think as long as we sold it for more than the appraised value and all that's in works, that legally you're in good shape as far as I can tell from our attorney. So the first thing we need to do is declare surplus and authorize the commission president himself to sign any contracts that we would need to sign with anybody who would want to purchase it. And again, you purchase it for a reason that would make it better for the community.
bring that before the commission at the correct time.
Make a motion.
Your second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Counselor, do you need to make any comment?
Gentlemen, just as long as we sell it for fair market value, that's all we're required under law to do, so the appraisal would give us the fair market value, so as long as it's for that much or more, we're in line with what the law states, so.
We're in really good position on this property, and, we'll make some kind of announcement about that, when everything's complete. Again, any other discussion about it? If not, administrative motion, let me know, saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, state your object. Thank you, let the record so state, it was unanimous. That concludes our agenda for the day. Thank all of you for attending. Our next meeting will be September the 8th, according to prior arrangements. Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Any without objection, so ordered. Thank you.